Welcome to part 2 of this PC build log. I'm going to cut right to the chase. I hope you enjoy the tech porn. So this is an example here of a bend that we'll be using in the build. This is actually a bit longer than it needs to be, so I'll be cutting the top part as well as the base that I'm holding. And you can see if we line it up, while it is too long and just all around too long, it should fit snugly from the CPU block, and we're going to run it to the back tube, so that the turn from here to here had to be very sharp. Both of those turns did, but it looks just straight up like it should line up as long as we cut those lengths down. So that's what I do. I don't measure, I don't take a ruler and mark on the PETG, anything like that. I just kind of eyeball it and I keep cutting down just barely enough to the point where it fits nice and snug. Remember, you want to keep these connections very firm. You don't want any loose connections. You don't want anything loose at all, period, because your fluid will find a way out. It will find a way out, trust me. Alright, so that is the first fitting, well, apart from this one here, which was just straight up. I used a couple of 90-degree fittings to basically line that up with the opening in the 90 up top in the back of the rad. So the next loop is going to be, or the next bend is going to be from here down over on top of the graphics cards and then down into the intake of the pump. We want our reservoir to feed the pump directly, that way we can cycle the fluid without having to worry about the pump not receiving fluid and just basically spinning on air, which is not good for it. So I have the first bend of this part here finished. So it's got a 90 and it's going to come across. Now I want to make just like just a mental note of where I want to actually bend this tubing, so I'll just leave my hand roughly where I want it to be bent, and then that is where I'll concentrate the heat with the heat gun. Alright, and here is the setup so far. Don't worry, like I said in the beginning of the video, I'll be showing all of you how to bend tubes if you're interested in a separate tutorial, so you get to see bends just like these being made, but that'll be in a separate video. Now, every bend is in here except for the one leading from the graphics card, actually from the radiator to the graphics card. That's the direction of the flow. So up top, I'm going to put a 90, and I'm going to have it kind of angle slanted, maybe 45, come down, kind of squeeze between these two pipes here, and it's just gonna chill and then somehow make its way into here. Now this is going to be a very, very tight turn, but we'll see what we can do there. My hands are pretty chewed up from twisting these. So that's the last bend. It's going to be the toughest one, I expect, but in the end it should look nice and filled. I love that about these custom loops. It's not necessarily the fluid. I mean, the fluid's cool. I like seeing it, but in the end it's just there. You don't really see it moving. It just kind of exists to save the reservoir activity. But what I like most about custom loops is that they fill out the entire case for the most part. If you play your cards right, if you plan on SLIing or cross-firing cards, you can usually fill up, most of the space in here, and that's what I like most, is there's no wasted space, even though it is quite expensive. So with that, we're going to tackle this last bend, and then we'll add the purple fluid. Now you might be wondering at this point why I did things the way that I did. Some things you're probably like, what was he doing that for? That didn't make any sense. Well, chances are I probably tried the orthodox way and that didn't work out, so I went with plan B, C, or D. The first of these is the inclusion of 3 dust filters. Now these are aftermarket, they aren't included with the case. The regular Define C dust filter is like a huge door, it's really nice, but because the case is not too long, which is what I addressed in part 1, I couldn't put the fans inside the case, I had to put them on the outside. But the good thing is the front panel still clips on without a problem. Now if you have some dust filters laying around that fit that fan config, you should be good to go. The second thing you might be wondering is why the heck we kept rotating the PC like a 45-degree angle every power cycle. That's because the way that the loop is set up, the reservoir feeds the pump directly, which is a good thing. It means you're not going to more than likely be pumping air, which is a good way to kill your pump, but the reservoir is rotated sideways. So because it's horizontal, the little intake fluid ports on the bottom, which are actually on the left side in this case, are halfway up the reservoir, which means the reservoir has to be halfway filled at least for fluid to drain into the pump, if it's sitting upright. So we kept having to rotate it to get that fluid into the loop so that we could power cycle it and not have to pump air. With that, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to leave those in the comments below. I've also included all the parts to this build here, so you can pick and choose what you want if you want to build something similar. I also used primarily Thermaltake custom loop gear, a few Alpha Cool fittings, but for the most part it's Thermaltake. I'm also going to be working with Primo Chill here in the near future, and then possibly EK. I'm in talks with them as well. So more custom loops on the way. Also, some cheap builds, because yeah, what the heck, 2,500 bucks. Where's the cheap stuff? That's what you all subscribe for, most of you anyway. So we'll get back into those as well. This is Science Studio. Thanks for building with us.